What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Ieshea Hollins. She is the Chief Information Security Consultant, a PMP, CISO, and so much more. So thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate it. If you can go into a little bit more detail of who you are.
Certainly. Again, Ieshea Hollins. I am the founder and CEO of Direnzic Technology and Consulting. We are headquartered out of Monroe, Louisiana. We recently just expanded into the Dallas, Texas market. So we started our second location in Dallas, Texas, about 8 months ago. So we're very excited about that. We got started in digital forensics and cybersecurity back in 2008. Just kind of, just moving things along. I know we got started in digital forensics first, just kind of working with attorneys and, preparing things for court or helping to kind of bridge that gap between, what was known and unknown with regards to all the things that was coming of age with, computer crimes. And then in 2010, we went ahead and we married cybersecurity with digital forensics. How do you be proactive instead of just only being reactive, right? So we were one of the first companies to just kind of publicly marry those two frameworks together, the digital forensics and the cybersecurity. And we've been rolling ever since.
That is awesome. So with that being said, that partnership, was that just like your inspiration? Like, is that it was one of those where your passion, or was it a combination of both? Like, how did you get to that place?
That's a great question. So as a child, I was always curious about how things worked, right? But I also grew up during a time where computers were very, very expensive, and tearing up things was not necessarily the way to go. My parents would have killed me if I tore up a computer, but I still wanted to know how it worked. So I started figuring out how to get into things from the back end. And as a child, my father used to tell me, you need to be a legalized hacker. Neither of the things were really a thing yet. But I was a child, you need to be a legalized hacker. He's through the moon right now, by the way. And but for me, getting inside of files and different things like that, it always kind of came to me. Like I enjoyed it. I did go to school in computer information systems. Well, technically I started in computer science. I recognized early on that I was not your traditional programmer. I could program. I enjoyed it, but I was not one you could put baby in a corner, right? And tell her code all day. I'd go crazy over there because I need to talk to people. So I changed my major, and either way, it's kind of how it led into, I did, once I graduated, I was working as a programmer for CenturyLink, and which is now Lumen. But we were working hard to figure out how to recruit technology students to CenturyLink because it was hard. They would graduate and they would always move away because there was the auspice that there were no technology jobs available. And in the midst of one of my universities was Southern University. And so I'd have to go back and forth to Baton Rouge. During that time, on one of my trips, there was a case. It was just in the news at that time. I will not give the year. And there was a guy, and he was fighting for his innocence. They had infiltrated a pedophile ring. I don't know if you want that in your podcast, but that's what it was.
Right.
And
no, go ahead.
okay. And he was fighting to prove of everybody in the ring. He kept saying, but it wasn't me. And so as I'm driving, thinking about it, and especially at that time, how do you convince the cops or anybody that you didn't do something? You're adamant that you didn't, but nobody knows how to look into the, was I a man in the middle attack? Was I, because all of those were not common phrases at the time, right? It was just his word to say, I didn't do it. And so I looked at it and I said, he needs help, but who would his attorney work with to help him? So I started looking into it, and the more I looked, I'm like, this does not exist. Like, there is no way. That defense team didn't really have, everybody was using the same set of data that was coming from one particular point, and not necessarily knowing that what you were getting back was being interpreted correctly, if I can say that safely. So
Right.
as I looked at that, I just identified a need. And so I looked into it. I went back to school to go get a couple of certifications. And but I was still working at CenturyLink. And so I started, like I said, I started taking on just small cases, just here and there, just working with law enforcement and or attorneys. So they started doing pitch sessions. So I pitched my company at a startup. And when I pitched my company, I was pulled to the side and I was told, you're on the back end of it. If you can get in front of it and start offering cybersecurity, you'd probably go a lot farther. Because truthfully, we were. With digital forensics, it's case by case and only what comes up at the time. And so when they told me that, I went back, I sat down with my university, I talked to them, I pulled some other professionals to the table, and we started looking at how to do cybersecurity and digital forensics together. And there you have it.
That's real trailblazing. So like when it came to mentorship, so you said your father encouraged you, he saw that you had that passion. And then you said you had someone you spoke to who basically told you to marry it. But obviously you're a self-starter, you're self-motivated. What type of for people who are out there who are trying to figure out like what path do I want to go? Like what pulled you? Like who put that fire to say, hey, you need to basically take it and run with it? Was it more of a work associate? Was it more like a coworker, family member? Like who was that person?
You hit the nail on the head when you said, I'm definitely a self-starter. My father has owned his own business my entire life. So I always kind of knew that I wanted to run my own business. I just did not know what that business might be, right?
Right.
But identifying needs, I have a personality trait where I love helping. My father's also a pastor, so growing up as a pastor's kid, we help a lot. And so initially jumping out here was I wanted to be of help. I knew things, I had learned things, but how do I properly implement what I had learned to be able to help? The individual that pulled me to the side, they were speaking from a place of frustration. It was a group of doctors. That's who encouraged me to do it. They were saying it was when the laws for HIPAA had just changed. There was another, we had high tech HIPAA had been introduced.
Right.
And they did not know how to roll it out. They were getting all of these fines and different things that were happening. And that was the ask. They didn't understand digital forensics. Well, what happens after we've been breached, but who helps us before we're breached? And so that was the conversation, which just sparked some more investigations. In those investigations, I find there's no one doing this yet. And so that for me said, there's a need, you can help, let's just get started. And that's what I did.
That's refreshing. I say that because obviously the reason for the platform is to help people who are, starting a cyber journey, who are in the middle of their cyber journey, or trying to, find that upward progression, and then put them in connection with people who, like yourself, are in that, that top 3%. Those people who have made it, they've broken those glass ceilings, become senior leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, which you're hitting all those things, through your business. So I think that in itself is admirable, but then to come on this platform and then basically give uh, those keys of wisdom is definitely amazing. So I'm kind of jumping ahead because I definitely want to get more into the forensic side. I definitely want to ask you some questions about, just different levels as you moved up. But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask the question, like, so when it comes to the helping and whatnot, I don't want you to plug anything at the end. I would rather you plug it, earlier. Like, what are you going to do in your sponsorship? Like, what are you looking to do in the future to help people? It's kind of a long question, right? I guess if I had to condense it down, do you have any platforms you're trying to start? Because I mean, you have so many irons in the fire. You're doing some high level things. Just in this conversation, you've hit like 3 different things that you're currently working or wrapping up. What is next when it comes to the movement to help people of color? Just anybody who's looking to get into cyber. Just I'll leave it there.
It's a great question, and it is definitely hard to ask that question. For me, I have I started, or I co-founded with a group, back in Louisiana. It was NELASEC, and Northeast Louisiana Information Security Professionals, that got together every month just to talk through trends and what's going on and provide education. I have also, every summer up until COVID, I run a summer camp for disadvantaged youth that, we come in and we teach them, because I think in a lot of ways, a lot of things are lost in the cracks, right? We will be really quick to say, well, if you don't go to college, you can't do this or that. We've not identified what they could be naturally good at, whether they go to school or not. And that is a huge argument that is in the industry today. Talking from podcasts, you're looking at the education versus certifications. And a lot of them, in both cases, they want you, and we see in cyber all the time, we want individuals who have all of this experience, all of this expertise, but where do they get it from? Because the jobs don't allow you to come and do the work until you can prove that you've done the work. So who let you do the work? Some of your certifications, the Certified Ethical Hacker, the CISSP, those are the police, PMP as well. 5 years of work experience before you can even sit for the exams. So who's opening those doors, and who's allowing these students and these people to see, this is something that I can do. I'm really, really good at it. It comes naturally to me, because for me, I think it's kind of like law enforcement. You gotta think like a crook to catch a crook. You gotta think like a hacker to catch a hacker. And you think all these hackers went to school first? Some of this is
Preach.
natural talent. Yeah. I tell people all the time, they ask me, I got to go back to what my dad said. Be a legalized hacker, because I was hacking as a child. Now, I can't say that, like, I didn't hack my parents, and it's nothing that I should get arrested for. Like, let's not investigate me. I didn't hack my school, but there were things that I was doing on my home computer that he recognized, right? And so one of the arguments is I have later on certifications, But when I graduated, because I graduated from college in 2003, so I'll date myself, it's okay. I could not have gotten a cybersecurity degree, right? So you're telling me that I'm not relevant in the industry because my initial degrees aren't in cybersecurity or digital. Those are things that I had to be self-taught. You do have to be motivated. And I think in a lot of cases, we take away the motivation of our youth, of our kids, of even for those that want to transition careers later. So when you ask what it is that I want to do and where I'm going in this industry, I'm literally, that's what I'm going for. I'm going for a way to how do we introduce people to this industry? How do we get them caught up without making them feel bad, without having them feeling like they got to go back to get a 4-year degree just to get started, or without being discouraged by all of the rhetoric of, in order to be certified, I have to do this or that. It's all about making sure that we can help people transition. So yes, I'm working to, get my podcast off the ground. I'm working to put particular programs in place to make it safe where people can go and learn. I don't care your age, right? We spend too much time putting people in boxes. And the thing about technology is nothing about cybersecurity comes in a box, because if they stayed in a box, I wouldn't have a job.
So that is perfect. Like, you summed it up like perfectly. So for like the past, I would say 3 or 4 weeks, I'm not sure if you're on Clubhouse yet, but if you are, okay. So like perfect. That's perfect venue for you. Definitely start your podcast. Like, I definitely encourage you to do that. But on Clubhouse, what I've found is, so I don't mind public speaking at all. I'm if anything, I enjoy, if I'm passionate about something, I can definitely talk about it endlessly. But Clubhouse, it feels like very raw, where you can reach people who are completely different fields. Like, you have somebody who's like, I'm a masseuse, but I'm thinking about going to cyber, and then you kind of break down, here's, X, here's Y, and like you said, what's your passion? Like, what's your natural talent? So I think that's incredible. Definitely keep doing that. I will definitely find you on Clubhouse. If you want to, like, what's your username?
Ieshea Speaks, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if it's not, I'll put it somewhere in the description. Like, we'll definitely get them squared away. But yeah, definitely, I'm definitely going to follow you, because that's inspirational. And you're speaking about a lot of things that we are debating about, right? Like, so I see the flood of degrees but no experience. Like, people are like trying to get their bachelor's before they've even touched equipment, because like job applications are saying, yeah, you need, like you said, 5 years experience for this, 2 years experience for that. But how do I get that experience? So I think that's definitely commendable. So
it feels like, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good to go.
We are deterring people from, a course
Right.
of action by putting a lot of roadblocks in their way. And I'm in the mindset, let's just remove those roadblocks and let's change how we think. I think in a lot of ways, we as a people, we like to talk about, oh, I'm waiting on somebody to open the door for me, right?
Right.
And in some cases, what if you are the door? You create the way. We can have all these visions and think things. That's why I'm so very proud of you starting your podcast, getting it out there. And I don't want to say start, because you've been doing it for a while. But it's, as we were saying, before, sometimes we can overplan things, but there are people that have been waiting for a while for us just open the door. Let me see that it can be done. Talk to me. Yes, I have my degree. I do, but my cybersecurity, it was not possible at the time, but I still made it work, and you can too. As I was saying before, one of the things that I'm working on is an assessment. I think we should be able to, as I said before, technology is a lot like medicine. And that breaks up into all these different fields, all these different segments. how do I decide which avenue I want to go down? Luckily, medicine they've already plotted that out. But over here in our arena, it's not plotted out. We're not having those, we're not normalizing conversations of, am I a hacker? Am I a programmer? Do I like data mining? Do I enjoy looking at monitoring, looking at intrusions in and out? Is that my cup of tea all day long? Because we like buzzwords. We're people, we love good buzzwords. Well, I'm in cyber. Can you write a cybersecurity, a policy and procedure? Is that what you want to do with your day? You know what I'm saying? Do you enjoy the research that comes along with it? Or, are you thinking every day is vulnerability assessments? And even if every day is a vulnerability assessment, are you writing the report afterwards, or are you just doing the intrusion testing? So sometimes an assessment will look at, okay, let's talk about what this entire job entails and what about it do you really feel makes a fit in your life. Then decide to go that path. Because when you start talking certifications, well, I went and I got my A+, but I got Security Plus, but I want a CEH, but I want to, and then we'll jump in a chat. Well, which direction is best for me? And I see that question all the time in our Black Information Technology Professionals group, right there on Facebook. I see the question, and it pains me not to answer that question, but the real answer is you have to know first what you want to do, or else you got alphabet soup. Ieshea Hollins, PMP, CEA, CISSP, CI, that. And at the end of the day, your counterparts are looking at it going, they can't figure out what they want, and they still pass you. There's undereducated, there's overeducated. We've heard it all.
That's very true. So if you were to like distill it down to not a certification, not a degree, definitely have to have the passion. What would be something, a publication maybe, or maybe an online just class? You're not even trying to get a certification. You just want to take something just to see what's out there. Where would you point somebody who is brand new to cyber, who's listening to this podcast?
I'm an advocate for Udemy. People would say,
okay.
I Cybrary, Cybrary. It's another really good resource that I would, tell people, kind of go to. Again, it's still going to be difficult because even when you get there, in some cases, you are inundated with information and you still don't know where to start. And so that's why I said right now, it's something that I'm working on, but I haven't finished it yet. Because like I said, there's a lot of really good trainings that are out there. You can point people in a lot of directions. YouTube is phenomenal. But those two definitely, Udemy and Cybrary. Definitely, if you're looking in the arena of cybersecurity, I would say Cybrary.
That's perfect. So yeah, so I've spent hours on Cybrary. I don't know if you've listened to Kelly Hinderhan at all. Like that's my go-to. Like she got me through my CISP. But so I think your answer is perfect though. Like just find a tool, and preferably a free tool, right? Something where you don't have to invest a lot of money in case you don't like it.
That's right.
I had a young gentleman ask me, like basically for study materials for CISP, and I'm just like, so what have you done in the past? Like, what are you currently working on and whatnot? And he was like, I'm still in college. I'm in my sophomore year. And I'm like, bro, like, not to discourage you, like it's something you should strive for in the future. But I was like, it's so many hoops to jump through. Like you could pass the test, but you're still not a CISP. Like these titles are not what would make you phenomenal at your job. It's your passion. Like you said, you have to have the passion for it. And then it's also what do you know? Like, because if you can't speak intelligently to whatever that is, you're not going to get through the interview.
Right.
Um, it just feels like people are rushing, like they're trying to catch this cyber wave, which has been around for like 2-3 decades. Um, but they're just getting too far ahead. So I think that's perfect. Like there really is no specific. Like I would say if you have to pursue something, I would say definitely, like you said, Udemy, see what you like, dabble around, like look around Cybrary. Also, you can find some free tools. There's some paid stuff on there too, but don't commit until you kind of know what you want to do. So I think that's perfect. So this interview is kind of unorthodox, but I definitely wanted to capture like you're definitely going somewhere. I wanted to get there. Um, so I guess we should back up a little bit. So from your titles, so like again, it's not about your title, it's about the experience. It's about what took you to get to that point. Um, did you start in project management, uh, or is that something that came along the way? So the reason I asked, like most of these questions are supposed to be for the audience, but some of these questions for me, I'm not gonna lie. So, so I'm also a PMP. I'm just fascinated when I talk to other PMPs, because again, it's not about the title, but it takes a certain mindset to want to pursue being a project manager, because it's the most frustrating thing in the midst of it. But when the process clicks, it just feels so good. So
Yes. Okay. So, and my only thing was I try not to give really long answers. I feel like I give really long answers and I don't mean to.
no, it's perfect. So
um,
someone will pick up something, like regardless of how long the answer is, and they're like, you know what, I get it. It clicks.
yes. So technically, in college, like I said, I would definitely say the greatest takeaway from my undergraduate was they gave us one class right before graduation. It was project management. And for me, it checked all my boxes. It was like ding, 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 ding. But I did, upon graduation, I went in as a programmer, systems analyst programmer. So I was programming, I'm writing code. Um, but I found that I was really, really good going back to my client, going back to the customer, telling them things that I did that was very repetitive, redundant, and there was no automation around it, but it was very automatable. If I can give you a word. Um, but that going back to that client for me and sitting with them and talking with them, coming back, testing that tool out, and then rolling those things out, that for me worked. I developed really great relationships with them. So it was, as I'm working as a programmer, I'm, sitting beside, the project manager, certain things I'm hearing them talk about, and that for me just initially clicked. So I started looking into project management because I never forgot that I loved that course in class, or, right before I graduated. So I went initially into project management blind, didn't really know whether was going to be a fit for me or not. I went to my boss and I told him I want project management. They went about it in a way where they felt like they needed to hold my hand because I didn't know it, right? But when they put me in it, the boss they gave me was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with you. You got this, right? And because for me, I'm a big picture person. I guess I should say that. Um, taking something from beginning to end and understanding the various pieces and parts, understanding the importance of your stakeholders, making sure that they're comfortable, understanding how much this is going to cost me, having to be able to have those conversations back with technology and with your team, so because they have to know you know what you're talking about. And just little by little, as I piece those things together, I recognize, because like I said, my undergrad is in computer information systems. My master's became in project management. It just worked for me. That for me was a fit. And so I went back, I got my master's in project management, and then later went on to get my PMP.
And do you believe that those fundamentals that you picked up in learning the framework and what have you, Is that another key to success? Is that what gets you to being a successful business, entrepreneur, runner, things of that nature?
Ryan, I would say so. I would say, I tell everybody, each and every client I take on and project that we roll out is rolled out with a dedicated project plan developed specifically for it. Because I actually, what we learn in project management, there's a structure there. Yes, not everything falls within a mold, right? Nothing, everything is unique. And I think I love that about project management because it tells you right in the very beginning, a project has it's a unique thing. It's a specific start and a specific end. And so for me, yes, I utilize those principles when I roll things out. I think it helps you identify issues in the beginning. And that's one of the things that we did. We started, as I said, digital forensics, cybersecurity, but I had to change the narrative because when we first started, yes, cyber has been around for, you're right, decades. But in the South, Louisiana, I do digital forensics and cybersecurity, and they went, you do what? That's all I would get. No one understood, what I was saying. They understood technology. So I would get a lot of, can you fix my printer? It broke. I could, or I could send you somebody that could do that better.
Right.
That's not what I'm here for. And so I became, we marketed it as issues management resolution. You tell
Okay.
us the issue, we will give you a resolution wrapped all the way around it. That project management. Okay, you could come and you could sit down because now your problem isn't just the problem you came to me with. Maybe your network is not set up correctly. Maybe just because you sat down and connected the printer to the computer, that did not necessarily fix, it wasn't even a solution that your organization needed. Were y'all even having that conversation? So for me, yes, I use it, I utilize it. I feel like it was very beneficial. As I said, I sit on the board that started our project management chapter right there in Monroe, Louisiana. We didn't have a chapter. When I went to take my PMP, the closest you could go to take a class was in Jackson, Mississippi. To do a boot camp, I had to come all the way to Dallas, Texas to take my boot camp and to take my exam. Because again, I find myself unintentionally trailblazing, but I recognize that things need to happen and I jump in and I do it. You can't sit around waiting on somebody else to do what God showed you for you.
Right. Right. That is definitely that encapsulates it perfectly. So I didn't ask you almost any of the questions I wrote down and sent you.
It's quite all right.
We'll get there. But I do like this. This is why I like the podcast format. Like you can have a genuine conversation and it comes out with actual like facts. It comes out with, a recipe for success.
Yeah.
So I guess when speaking of recipes, so you see we have PMP, we have legal hacking, as your father would say. So you have the ethical hacking side, digital forensics. I hear defense and def as well sprinkled in there. There's a lot going on, but they all complement each other. So I'm trying to think, like, are there any areas where you kind of see yourself trying to go in the future, or, because like you said, you don't want to be overeducated. Like I find myself like not knowing when to stop because I want to know the information. And if I'm going to get the information, I might as well get there is a piece of paper attached to it. Yeah, I'll get that as well too. But is there anything that you see yourself heading towards in the somewhat near future? Like, is there anything you want to pull into the business?
You have phenomenal questions. And yes, there are things that I see us doing. And I have to challenge myself to stay on course. As I said, we started digital forensics, cybersecurity. We do cybersecurity strategic planning for clients, disaster recovery, business continuity. Then we kind of branched even further into, I had a case where a client came in, their entire business identity had been stolen, which is a little different than your personal identity being stolen. So we began to work on digital marketing with the preface of identity protection for your company. So we had that area that's currently not being done. So I still get a what
Yeah,
you
I've never heard of that before, so I'm intrigued.
um, then we have everything that's going on with the change of with COVID. You had telehealth. We do telehealth installations. We do smart technology installations. And then we've had a very big area of training, and I'll explain that. For me, I'm a very hands-on type learner, and though I love education and I love learning, I just have a different approach to it. And so that sit me down and just kind of want me. And in technology, that's really not, for some people they can grasp it, but no. So
Right. You're tactile, like you need to put hands on whatever the concept is. I
make it make
definitely
sense.
hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, make it make sense. This does not make sense. The words don't mesh and make sense. So when I first started with cybersecurity, I started doing cybersecurity awareness seminars because, again, that's why I said they didn't understand what was cyber. So I would go in and I would do trainings and I would scare the devil out of people, right? They can do that? Yes, they can, and probably already have. And since you don't know that they can do it, you might want to look into that,
Right.
Um, so I started getting asked a lot. We love your training style. Can you train other things? Like don't just scare us. Can you train other stuff? And so for us, literally, our next progression after cybersecurity and digital forensics was training. But it was also a great marketing tool for us, because what you'll be amazed at, and probably not amazed, is when you walk in and you start training staff on certain procedures or this should not have happened, and then give them a break, right? Immediately, they start telling you all the ways they do everything you said they weren't supposed to. Everything. Don't put your password under your keyboard. You know Susan got hers right up under the keyboard. It's and be the funniest things, people come back and they start telling you everything. And so for me, I could walk away from a training and because again, project management, what do? Lessons learned. Those are huge at the conclusion of any project, right? What are your lessons? What did you take away? And so what I started doing with those trainings was going back to management and saying, according to your client or your employees, this and this and this might be an area you might want to focus on, right? And so it just kind of started that dialogue of, oh, really? Because now it's specific to you. It's not holistic. It's not this wide open approach that anybody could have done this. No, this is specifically going on in your organization. And this is maybe something that we want to do. But when you start having those conversations with the IT departments or even calling IT departments, our defenses go up, right? Because initially what you're doing is you're telling me I did something wrong. It's like an audit. And so therefore we're defensive against it. we can't afford to be defensive against it. We have to find a way. Let's have these conversations. Let's normalize the conversation. And so that's what we began to do. We began to work to do those. That for me is definitely an area that we're going into. It's normalizing unnormal things and having those, let's bring those out. And I'm developing programs that tailor that. And my goal is to get those rolled out. If that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. Yeah, like I like the part where they start telling on each other though. Like that's perfect.
Yeah,
because cyber awareness training is mind numbing, and it doesn't really get the point across. So to switch up the delivery to help those people. I like the scaring part. Like I'm supposed to deliver information protection class, and I was like, I'm gonna take that. Like I'll start out with a scary story. No,
that's
go
one
ahead.
of
I'm
the
sorry.
things I love about what I do. I tell anybody, I absolutely love what I do. The cases that come in, they are night and day different. It's like you get some really, really good ones. And then, you get the occasional boring one, but, eventually you're going to get back to some really, really good ones. Because the things that people don't think is a problem until it's a problem. And then now they're running and they're scared. They don't know where to go or who to call and who to here to help.
Right. No, that's great. So I guess to kind of get a little bit deeper into that, but again, no trade secrets or anything like that. When it comes to trailblazing, so our initial exchange was I was looking for someone to ask questions about what is a vCISO, what do they do, because it may not be a new concept, but it's new to me, right? And we talked about on the podcast. The article we pulled information from, I believe, sent us down the wrong path of what it was. I think we misrepresented it because it was kind of talking about how this person would be kind of like a part-time worker for a fraction of the cost. And I was just like, if the CISO's in the title, like that's not what you're getting. But then I started asking the question, and I was getting a lot of gatekeeping. Like people were kind of like, for confidential, reasons they don't want to share. I get that, but I was kind of looking for like the day of vCISO, and you're the first person I ran into who was I think you were in the bit for trying to find other vCISOs. Like I'm a vCISO, I'm looking for other vCISOs. So I was like, hey, I got questions. and again, personality and what have you, it definitely not gatekeeping. It was definitely on the helpful sponsorship type level, like, hey, we can talk about this, and I'll come on the podcast. So initially that was going to be the podcast, but again, your story, the recipe, like I think I'm getting a lot of keys here that will help a lot of people. So that's why I've pivoted so hard from the initial questions. We'll get there. Well, this is all good stuff, but I have to ask the question. So what is a day in the life of a vCISO? Like, what does that look like?
Okay. So we understand, let's just say, let's normalize Chief Information Security Officer. So what a Chief Information Security Officer basically is that person that is managing the processes around the technology that happens for an organization, right? We are that person that looks at what are your issues, what is the budget, right? Because we have a lot of companies that until this point, we're now starting to normalize making sure that we have a dollar figure assigned to what we do for our technology. We did not. That person who makes sure that cybersecurity awareness training is happening, are all of our processes and procedures up to date? Are we meeting and within compliance? So Chief Information Security Officer, boom, kind of in a tight little bubble right there, okay? Virtual means you have a lot of companies that need everything I just said, but I cannot afford to necessarily keep you on staff for the whole year. And I think in a lot of ways, in some cases, it's because we still have not completely recognized the need for a CISO, right? We're getting closer, not yet there, right?
Right.
So virtually you work for me, but you work for others, at the same time. The way we structure it at Direnzic, sorry, I'm not plugging myself, I'm just saying the way we structure it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. What we like to do is we'll get like a chief information security officer that has specialized in a particular arena. So like for us, we do municipalities. We have it's a lot has taken off in the arena of manufacturing around cybersecurity. You realize you have all of these hacking and leaving ships in the maritime. They can't get in and out of the ports, and or you can't export in and out because you don't have your cybersecurity frameworks in place, or your firewalls are set up to be able to do business the way you're supposed to. Hospitals, finance, the financial industries, all of those, you have regulatory constraints that really require someone to know that language, right? You need somebody that literally knows, what you're looking at and what other people are doing. And so, though a day in a life of or virtually, what you want to be able to do is call on expertise. So what we do is we have you put us on a retainer. We come in and we develop a recipe specific to your organization. This is one area where doing a cookie cutter is not going to work for you, right? And we have to understand that. Yes, I can get canned cybersecurity awareness training, sure, but as you and I both know, it's painful. We've taken cybersecurity awareness training, we've put it on the computer, where our employees are multitasking and they're just clicking next to check off a box that says, I did it. Not recognizing that, okay, that's fine. You can let them check that box. But when you are breached, the liability lies with you. We have to then begin to have that conversation. When that investigation starts, when you have to reach out to your clients and own the level that, because so now we're having those conversations. Well, I'll just get cyber liability. How much liability did you get? And what's covered in that liability? And in that liability, your employees that just clicked through but could not dare pass anything to show that they really did pass the awareness training, they left the door open. So now you're looking at, I got cyber liability that can't pay for it because it's got to come out of my pocket because the failure lied here, not there. We also have to look at, you have insider threats. That's why we said, when you're looking at, I get a lot of people, you'll be amazed at the number of people when cybersecurity became the thing. You had a lot of people that spun up, big name companies that started saying, we offer cyber. They offered you what is it called? I had the word right on the tip of my tongue. They offered you virus protection. They gave you back something like that, kind of ramped up a little bit. And then because you didn't know the challenge, the software that they told you. You don't know those questions to ask. You got cyber protect, you got virus protection with a cyber label on it. And nobody's challenging that. And again, if that becomes a problem, how do you address it? So that's the thing that we begin to say. Budgets, what does your budget look like? Who talked to you about it? Did you put enough aside? In the event that a disaster happened, God forbid, except we just lived through COVID, the first ever freeze that we have not had in a very long time. I live in Louisiana, where we just had unprecedented hurricanes, tornadoes, all sorts of happening. Well, if nobody is bringing that to the forefront of the conversation at the board, sometimes you got to have the board has to think about some of these questions. One of the things that we offer are tabletop exercises. What's the tabletop? We bring those executives in. We set off a fire in your organization. It's a hypothetical fire, but we set it off. And what we allow you to do is watch the reaction of your staff in real time. Let's watch them figure out they don't know what they're going to do. Let's show you how long your organization will either be down and can it survive it. Then once we've had that conversation, now let's push back and take those same executives into a boardroom, and now let's develop what we need to develop. Right? Let's write that out, and so that we can safely secure our investment, which is our organization. Because the key is not to lose your organization. That if we can invest in everything else to make sure that we're staying on top, in the forefront, then why would we not? We're gonna put all this money in marketing, and then but all of your clients can't come to you. I can't swipe my card because every time I swipe my card, there's somebody on the back end that's either spoofing my network. All of these things that we know that language, they may not. And it's our job to bring that to the forefront and fight to make sure that our organization is having the right conversations at the right level. Are we within compliance? And then, so yeah, we'll come in and we'll do that for you. And then, no, you don't owe us insurance. you don't have to give us benefits, but you do have to pay us. And then our job is to make sure that when things change in the industry, I recognize this change impacts these clients of mine, right? Because I'm still your CISO, whether I sit there all day, every day. But I need to be able to say, okay, I have 5 clients that are in the restaurant industry. I have 6 clients that are in the medical industry. When that law changed, you didn't have to worry about it. My job was to come back and make sure I told you what you needed, and let's put a plan around it.
Phenomenal. That summed it up. Like, I know more now than you put my imagination to shame. in my head, I had not thought about I was thinking more microcosm, right? I was thinking like it's a person in their home who is chiming in from time to time to provide that information, awareness training, maybe making sure that your patches are being done, your viruses are being, your signatures are being updated, things of that nature. Like, you just no, it's the real deal. It's really a CISO, but maybe your company can't have one there full time on premise.
That's right.
So
because
perfect.
what you said, if the IT department is set up correctly, that should just be the IT department, right? Whether or not your patches are in place and you've rolled certain things out, a really good IT department should have those processes, right?
Right.
We talk about asset management. Asset management is a huge deal, and you have a lot of companies that fail on just their asset management plan. Who has this particular computer? Who has the rights to sign in and log in? We fired Paul 18 months ago, yet we still see him on the network.
Right.
These are all conversations we don't like to have, and we will. That's why I say when I come, I like to say, I had to learn to tell people, we're like the police. There's a axe murderer loose in your neighborhood. And we came and we knocked on your door and we said, ma'am or sir, there's an axe murderer loose in your neighborhood. And we came to let you know, please close your windows and lock your doors. Put your dog away, close this down, close that down, right? And you looked at me and said, you must be the murderer, and closed the door in my face. That's what we face when we go to different companies. They then see us as the threat. Now, if I were the murderer, would I have knocked on your door and told you to close your door? So let's go back, because you're an IT person, you get it. So I came and said, close that port, close that opening, reevaluate that. And instead you looked at me and said, you're the threat. I can't afford to have you. No, sir, you can't afford not to have me.
Oh, wow. No, now you preaching. All right. I think that right there. You sure you don't have a podcast? You're not gonna start one out? You should start tomorrow. You're already there.
I told you, I've been planning it. I have all my material. I just have not stopped long enough to record my stuff. But
right,
yeah, I'm ready.
you gotta get started. Like I said, one of my mentors, it's done is better than perfect, because perfect is never done. Like that's it's a good mantra. Like obviously you don't want to half-ass anything. Excuse my language, but you'll never get started if you don't get started. Like you're there. All you gotta do is just cut the mic on.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I'm definitely gonna jump in. I'm definitely gonna jump into one of your Clubhouse. What do they call it? Clubs.
Yeah.
My brain shut off for a second. So there's typically some questions that I do ask that I didn't ask you, only because I obviously I try to get the perspective from a person of color, whether it be a woman of color or a man of color, just kind of like what were those roadblocks, what were those things that you had to overcome, and things of that nature. But I don't think you had it. Like you had nothing stop you. Like you may have had obstacles in your way, but it seems as though you just ran through them. was there anything that you felt was a hindrance that you had to overcome, and what did you gain from that?
So I enjoyed your interview with Chelsea Pierre.
Yes.
As I listened to that interview, it hit home in so many ways. And I don't think that is the conversation we don't normalize. We're not having the conversations that women in technology, we get dismissed really, really quickly by our own counterparts. I have been on a job. Matter of fact, I actually brought in a guy with me on a deal, right? I gave him a phone call and I let him know. I said, I have this is going on. They're looking for this element and this element, and you guys offer this element, and I would like to bring you in. I get to the table now. Keep in mind, now in this particular case, he's an African American. He comes in and he sits down with me at the table. So I am doing a presentation to a white male. I am a Black female at the table, clearly, and he's a Black male. As we're talking, the white male is addressing me because he called and asked my company to come do the presentation. As we're talking throughout that presentation, more and more, the Black guy, is getting uncomfortable with the amount of attention that's going my side of the table, i.e., I know this too, but that's not what you were there for. Midway through the interview, he starts hijacking some of the questions, right? Not long after that, his business card comes out and he throws it to the guy at the table, at the head of the table, the white guy. The guy looks down at the card. He now sees the difference between that guy's card and my card, right? Oh, so we're not talking the same business. So gradually, there's a shift in the interview because you've now established guy to guy, talk to me. So, but you're only at that table because I invited you to that table. When we got done with the interview, we had to go into the server room. I go with him to the server room. When I get in the server room, he's stumbling through how to get through the server. I politely say, "Can I have a go?" I then come to the server and I start entering in the information that we need to pull the information that we need to go back and run what we needed to run. He looks at me, he says, "You do this too?" "Yes, sir, I do. I invited you as a courtesy. As I said before we started this podcast, certain things I recognize that you did better maybe than me because my company specializes. See, I like to stay in my specialty.
Right.
But I also tried to bring you to the table so that we could all eat, sir. But just because I was here without a set of pants on, right? Or what comes in those pants, we actually have to have our own internal battles between whose meeting you were attending. See, these are the things that we have that nobody wants to talk about. These are, and you still have to keep your professionalism. You still have, or you're the angry Black woman on site, or you're the, there's all of these terms that other people don't have to overcome while they prove that they know that they're good enough to be at a table. I did an interview where I was in a room, I was in a boardroom. The table was full of white men. Again, I am not racist in any shape, form, or fashion. I love all people. In that interview, I'm giving the presentation, but you can tell by the vibe in the room, there were those that were on board, and then there was those that were not. I was stopped in the middle of my interview to be asked, "What are your credentials? How are you here?"
Microaggression.
I didn't miss, huh?
It says microaggressions.
Yes. So without missing a beat, I told them, "Okay, so we're going back to my introduction because I thought I covered that. That's cool. That's cool. I'll give you a minute." So I give my credentials again. This particular individual, he was sitting there, he heard him. And as he's just swiveling in his chair. In other words, I'm not even going to give you the decency to be still in your meeting. When he gets done swiveling in his chair, I was mid presentation. He had let me start back talking, but I had maybe gotten 3 sentences in. And he stops and he says, "I will never let you touch my servers." Okay, so I stopped the meeting. "Thank you for your time." And I picked up my stuff and I walked out. So I've been asked, when I've told that story, "You left because I was supposed to stay?"
For what? He basically told you that he's not in it. So okay. I take my time and my business somewhere else.
You got to walk through doors that we can't keep banging down every single door. There's in a lot of ways, what we do and what we offer, especially as small business owners, we face a lot. We have our own employees that we have to pay. We have our own payroll, but we're forever trying to prove we have a right to be here too. I think, and this is no offense against men, women actually deliver a different touch to technology. We offer a different touch to everything. Men have their way, and we need men, but women have their way, and we need women. And when you can bring them both together, it's a compliment, right? But when you fail to recognize the complement of the two, and we take the short end of that. We're not looked at as a compliment, we're looked at as a threat. Shouldn't be. We can't keep being threats that keep us from certain places. I have a way, I can see an issue a mile away that sometimes men, that it has to literally blow up in their face. But I saw it coming. I saw 3. Yep.
Right. You had the intuition.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's why I always ask my wife, saying, like, what does your gut say? because
That's it.
like I don't trust myself, but I mean like hers is so in tune. So I get that compliment. That does make sense.
Mhm.
So why like I have a problem with both instances, right? Like obviously I have a problem with the microaggression. I see your credentials. Like obviously I've already introduced myself, but that's more of stereotypical type behavior. Not to excuse it, but I'm more focused on the first one. Like why would we not support each other? Like that one bothers me. Like bruh. you you were invited and like we're trying to do something here. Like we say all the time on the podcast, like we only make up 7% of all IT. 7%. That's it. And like IT is continuously growing, but yet we still are not growing ourselves. Like we did, but because we used to be 5%. Okay, 2%. That's great.
Yeah.
but what about the support? Like like that part that definitely does trouble me. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like we like I stammer because it's upsetting. Like when I reach out to people, like shout out to Chelsea, like definitely shout out to you, like very receptive. Like I want to be on the show. I would definitely want to talk to you and have that conversation. Sometimes I don't get that though from other males. Like I haven't had too many people who just completely gatekeep me and just didn't want to interact with me. But again, like it's a like you said, it's a different vibe. Like I didn't have to you know obviously, yeah, I had to tell you what the platform was for, what I was trying to accomplish, things of that nature. Like you have to vet, you know what I mean? Like if you show up at the show, I'm a crazy person, then it's not good for you or your brand. It's a waste of your time. But the teeth you have to pull sometimes with people, and again, this is to show the uplift, not the bash, but I, it's just not enough networks. Like we're building them. Like so, I don't know if you heard of the BCA, the Black Cybersecurity Association.
Mhm.
So they've let me speak at their clubhouse a couple of times, like real cool. Like it's a great time. It's a good vibe. I've not I like I don't know if you've done your own clubs or whatnot. I haven't had the courage yet to stand one up myself, but they let me come up, like invited me on stage. We could talk and stuff like that. But they're one out of maybe 1,000 that may exist that I'm not tracking, as opposed to the other million of clubs and associations and what have you. So, a long prologue to get you to what do you think needs to be done? Like, what is going to get us to a point where we're opening doors for each other?
Well, as I said, it starts with us first. And by us, I mean you be the change first. I love your platform. I love that you're reaching out. It's kind of like in business, for every 10 no's, you might get a yes. So we
Right.
continue with, okay, so I might get a no and I might get a yes, because everybody can't say no. When we can start also finding those people and putting them in what we call our tribe, right? So once I recognize, okay, well, Ryan's cool people, Chelsea's cool people, you know, I'll say this too, and stop dismissing each other so quickly. We by nature are very fearful of trusting others for good reason. That's the conversation that we don't have. It's for good reason. We need to get past it. Can't keep living in it, but for good reason, I think. We've been indoctrinated for years to not trust each other. But I tell people all the time, the difference is our counterparts, they can hate each other right there in public. But when it comes down to business, they will come in a room, sit down at a table. They will break their business down. They're going to make their money. Then they're going to get up and they're going to walk outside still hating each other. I don't have to be your friend, but I recognize the art of doing business and making money. Our problem also is too many first generations of us. And we have to own what is the responsibility of being a trailblazer and what is the responsibility of being first generation. And so what you're doing, the platform that you have, my platform that I need to start. So, and even in Clubhouse, that's a conversation that we need to have as a people, do business with each other. If it's wrong or we're doing something wrong, tell each other. Don't tell social media. You ain't got to write a review from here to the moon that you didn't like it. Can you tell them and give them an opportunity? Now, if they don't take that opportunity to better themselves, also normalize cutting them off. But eventually we're going to find, because we're all we're some of the same things. It's my opinion.
No, it's definitely valid. I do agree with all of it, to be honest with you. It definitely, you have to be, like you said, the change that you want to see. Like you have to put yourself out there. You have to make it happen. And I need to start a Clubhouse. And you need to start your podcast.
I do.
But no, I definitely think that's inspirational. I think that will help people out. Like sometimes people have the fear of success. Like, what does that look like? Like,
yeah,
because if you are the owner of your own business or you are self-employed or something like that, and you fail, obviously it could be detrimental. But if you never try, you never will succeed. Like, it's just not possible. Like, it's not going to fall in your lap. Especially like you said, because we have to be trailblazers, we have to be first generation, things of that nature. Like, there's not a lot of nepotism that takes place. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that I do face. That I really wish that we could change too. I believe in mentorship. I look for mentors, like regardless of how we converse in one of the groups that I'm in, and it's, in some cases, people look at you and they say, oh, you made that look easy. But what they did not see was the nights you pulled your hair out, the nights you cried because you didn't know where to go, the mistakes you make along the way that you didn't necessarily have to make because there was no one. You couldn't pick up the phone and call mom and dad and say, hey, mom, I'm trying to grow my business and I'm trying to overcome this particular hurdle and I'm trying to do growth the way I'm supposed to. I need to hire extra people, but I don't necessarily know the tax laws or the rules, or, like I talked to a particular person, they've changed the rules around how you can hire consultants or contractors and put them on, how long they can be a contractor for you. Some of these conversations nobody is having with us until the IRS shows up, and then you have a penalty for something you didn't know anything about. I told, literally, I had the conversation. Well, this is no shot at it. If I start a restaurant, I can go to the store and I can buy the groceries, and then I can come back and I can be the cook and I can be the person to wash the dishes. I can do all of that as one person. But if you have a particular type of business where you yourself are held within compliance yourself, there's certain things that you need to know. Sometimes you actually have to be able to reach out, and knowing who you can call and who you can trust is just as important for us as it is for the type of security we provide for people and their data.
definitely. And yeah, we do. And definitely start your network. So like I found you through Facebook, through the Blacks in Information Technology, and then it moved over to LinkedIn. So like definitely grow those networks out. We talked about Clubhouse, and I have to find you on Clubhouse to follow you and whatnot. So yeah, I think that is definitely a lesson that we're getting there. I think it's starting to grow. Like I'm starting to see these networks starting to pop up. Like I said, like the BCA was like very helpful. Like they're doing a lot of great things to get people into cyber, and they're doing it realistically. Like they're trying to make sure people aren't going into like crazy college debt in order to just become, entry level cybersecurity. Like that's not necessary. And then through talking in this conversation, like you're definitely not a gatekeeper. Like you definitely are into the sponsorship and mentorship. So we'll get there to where people can find you and what have you. But I know you're busy. I don't want to take up all your time. I could talk to you about all this stuff endlessly, right? But one final question before we get to you be able to tell people where to find you and what have you. Um, so it could be cyber, it could be just personal growth. But what kind of media content are you using to either grow or unwind? It's a very general question. Like what are you consuming? Because we talk about on the podcast all the time. Like we have a whole episode where we just talk about everything else but cyber. Just got to get it out. Like what did you do all week? So like what are you gravitating towards now?
Okay. Don't judge me. My current guilty pleasure, TikTok. I have absolutely fallen in love with TikTok.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with
So
that.
I, I love, and the thing is, and I guess one of the reasons why I bring it up, we will pass judgment on something, especially as a particular, as Wendy Williams said, in a particular age group, right? I'm no longer a kid, but I'm not old yet, so I can't figure out what I am. However, because I'm fine with Facebook and LinkedIn, but I did not really care for Snapchat or Instagram, because we're not that generation that, you just sitting around just taking selfies of yourself all day. Who has time for that, right?
Right.
So I put TikTok in that bucket. And I had, I'll never look. I'm not going to get into TikTok. And of course, I have to because I have to keep my business. So I have an Instagram and I have Snapchat. So it's not like I don't have it. It's just not, I didn't think that I would like it. But I will tell you, I love the 1-minute snippet information. I am blown away with what people are able to do in that 60 seconds. The right creators, the content creators, they are giving you massive nuggets that you have to pay attention to or you'll miss it. But then it can be comedic, it can be inspirational, there's so many different ways that people are going about delivering their information in 1 minute. I love it. That's my thing. So TikTok will be an answer.
No, nothing wrong with that. So I've fallen victim as well. Like I have to not start my day with it because I'll lose track of time. So if I like open it up, it's the first thing I look at. Like you think like I'm gonna watch a couple 30-second, 60-second clips, and then 15 minutes later, you're like, where did the time go? So I don't judge you. I'm not gonna judge you on that one. And it's great for marketing, like you said. Like I'm trying to work on some stuff, but there's an art there, and I need to practice.
So it's why I'm watching it, because again, 1 minute to deliver everything, but then also the way they can edit them. And so I'm watching them to learn. Then I fall off the learning track and I'm just enjoying myself, because good for you, that's right. Only 15 minutes. I can lose an hour or two. Just
oh wow. Yeah, I try to. That's why I look at it during the morning, because you have a certain time budget. Like I got to get up, I got to get ready. I don't mess with that at night, but I watch YouTube. Like so, I'll start off with like I want to learn something new today, and then I delve into like nonsense.
Yeah.
So I get that, but you got to unwind. Like that's why we talk about it every week on the show. So it's like, what did you do to unwind? Like, what movie did you watch? What book did you read? Things of that nature. So no, that makes sense. Like I applaud you for like unplugging, because we definitely need to do that. So to wrap it up, and like before you said you didn't want to plug, like shamelessly plug yourself. Like whatever you feel comfortable talking about, like let us know. Just anything, like if you have any upcoming projects, which is hopefully a podcast, and then where we can find you at, and then I'll also put in the description.
Okay. Well, first of all, I will be starting my podcast. I would love to extend an invitation to you right now that I would love to have you on.
Hey, you let me know. Like, obviously, we got to figure out the whole time thing, because I'm so far in the future.
Yes, you're in the future. So call me back in the past and let me know. Don't give me as hard a time as I gave you. How about that? Because I do apologize. It wasn't intentional.
No, like you're busy. Like people, as they get through the podcast, they will see you have a lot of different projects happening. Like, so I appreciate you finding the time to stop by.
Thank you for having me. Yes, we are Direnzic Technology. Like I said, we are issues management technology consulting firm. Located out of Monroe, Louisiana, or Dallas, Texas. Either or, find us at either office. We are on all the social media platforms. We have a website, www.direnzic.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, almost. I'm on TikTok. And LinkedIn, definitely. You know, we host a series of classes. Matter of fact, we just completed a disaster recovery and business continuity class. The follow-up to that one will actually happen in June because June is the start of hurricane season. So get with us if you know that you're not prepared for a natural disaster. So we have those classes that are coming up. I have a very exciting program that we're going to be launching soon. I will definitely get with you on that one because I'm very excited about it, that we're going to be rolling out for parents and their children. So again, we're very excited. You can reach us at do you want the phone number?
Yeah, anything you feel comfortable with, because it's going to be on the internet forever. So
I know, right? But I can give you our phone number and you can, drop it in any of the information as opposed to me calling off phone numbers, but that's it.
Okay. No problem. So yeah, definitely if you guys are not following Ms. Hollins on any of those platforms, please do so. I'll definitely put the description on the bottom. Stay tuned, like there's more to come. So we will definitely, anytime you have something coming up that you want to bring up or plug or what have you, I definitely would love that information so I can share it. Again, hopefully this encourages other people, like just be a sponsor, like get each other out there, share and what have you. Don't gatekeep. We talk about it a lot. But a lot of people saying that don't gatekeep are being gatekeepers. It's like, hey, like I'm confidentiality, got it. But if you can share something, if you can tell somebody about a previous mistake, like you said, or if you've overcome an obstacle, or if you see one coming in the future, like we need to hook each other up. We need to get it. We need to grow the 7%. Like I want to be at 70%. I want to take it over. we will be IT. But thank you again for being on the show. I definitely appreciate it. Again, follow her on all of her social medias. And I would say you are the second interview. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Shout out to Chelsea Pierre. Shout out to Jeff Lodick. I keep saying my mentor, but I don't say his name. So Jeff Lodick, he's the one who definitely says, fail forward, like get out there. So if you are inspired by this and you think you want to do something in the future, definitely do that. If you want to reach out to us to be on the show or to share some words of wisdom, hit us up. So it's been a great show. I appreciate it. Thank you again for your time, and much success in all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, everybody. I never had to end these. Peace.
I know.